Hey everyone, Skull902 here, and this is quite a serious issue that has been going around lately and marks some big changes for YouTube. I had a whole video written, like a big old script, but I figured, especially after learning some things, that the best course of action would be to, not have like a big angry time video, even if it was scripted, and just kind of talk to you guys genuinely. So I cut out most of the script. For the end, I'll keep it. But what's been going on is a settlement between YouTube and the Federal Trade Commission because YouTube essentially broke the rules of the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. And with the settlement comes policy changes and all sort of other stuff for the website. I'm not going to be the best at explaining it. And in fact, I'm going to link a couple videos by Hoeg Law, I believe the channel's name is, and he can explain things like way better and in much clearer terms than I can about what the laws are, how they apply to you, and whatnot. It's not legal advice because nobody watching the video is his client, but it's pretty good. So I'm gonna link those down in the description and try to do a very simple explanation for this video. So the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, which shall henceforth be called COPPA, basically it's to protect children's information on the internet. And YouTube broke these laws by grabbing personal data from kids and serving them personalized ads because of the content that they watched. And it's a very complicated thing. And again, I'm not the best at explaining it, but that's in the most simplest terms what's happened. In September, the parties settled for $170 million, and YouTube also agreed to make policy changes and changes to the website in terms of like adding bots that recognize family-friendly content and all that. So they've started really pushing these policies because they become active on the 1st of January, and it's got some people on edge, and there's definitely a good reason why. YouTube may be not telling the entire truth, and that's what the Hoeg Law videos are for, that I wanted to link you to. You can look into that. But essentially, YouTube is telling people that they have to mark their videos as made for kids, not made for kids, or having the option to look through each video individually. So there's that. And then even scarier is the FTC has threatened to bring lawsuits against individual creators for what they see as violations of the COPPA Act. And again, how the COPPA Act applies to you can be explained in the Hoeg Law video. It's a very interesting watch. I'm going to stop plugging that now. Now then, what does this mean for YouTube channels? And I need to explain first and foremost that, to my knowledge, not having ads on videos that are deemed made for kids or family friendly content, which, by the way, I think that like kids content and family content are two similar but slightly different things, but that's neither here nor there, at least for the purposes of this video, so I'll be using the terms interchangeably. If the videos aren't running ads at all, then obviously they're not running personal ads, and to my knowledge, that means that they might be safe from COPPA. But I'm going to go under the assumption that every video is at risk. So that's just something to keep in mind, is that perhaps it won't hit you as hard if you're not a partner. Like I'm not a partner, for example, but I'm just gonna try to play it safe in terms of assumptions and what I know and everything like that. So yeah. So essentially, what does this mean for family channels? And I'm going to use Sonic Song 182 as an example here. The thing that I agree with is no more personalized ads. YouTube, I don't think it's a good idea for them to be tracking information from children and trying to advertise to them specifically. So that's the thing I agree with. That's fine, in my opinion. If it were just no more personalized ads, that would, I wouldn't have a problem with the changes that they're making. And that's the agreement that they made with the FTC. But the thing about it is, without personalized ads, channels that are entirely family content or even mostly could be losing about 60 to 90% of their ad revenue. And this could even apply to channels that aren't family friendly, but I'll get onto that later. And obviously, 60 to 90% of the ad revenue is pretty bad. So I don't know if if they're ever gonna do something to accommodate. I highly doubt that they will because YouTube, quite frankly, I don't think cares. But that's how it is. No more personalized ads. And the things that they were not legally required to do, it wasn't a part of the settlement. It's not a part of these laws, but they're doing it anyway. And things that I really, really do not agree with is that family channels will see a loss of engagement on videos marked as made for kids. That's comments, likes, any kind of interaction that you can have with the video, it's gone. You can't favorite it. You can't add it to any playlists. You can't add it to like watch later or anything like that. There's no engagement with the videos, and again, like you lose a sense of community, I think, when you have to sacrifice that. And I really do not understand why YouTube decided to do that. And then what's worse, even, is the loss of notifications. That's to say, subscriptions, let's say. So, again, you're watching Sonic Song 182 and you want to be notified of when the next Ask the Sonic Heroes comes out. But, oops, because it's marked as family friendly, you don't get it in your sub box. And it's not searchable either, is another thing. So you have to go and periodically check the channel to see if the video is even there. And I think, and a lot of other people think, that family channels are definitely going to see a big drop in views and everything of the sort, visibility and all that. And it's going to be extremely hard for them to grow when your videos can't be searched up, when your videos can't be talked on, like you can't have a community of people in the comments talking and sharing their thoughts. It's definitely going to be a big blow to those channels, and that's quite frankly, it's not fair to just destroy these channels. For Sonic Song again, I can't speak for them specifically. I don't know what their plan is. I have nothing to do with running the channel, but I've been thinking about them, and like I have no idea how they're going to be able to survive unless if they change up their content, which is another concern. There's a big concern about people now having to arbitrarily add swearing or suggestive themes or whatnot to their videos. So I don't see how they can really survive without either doing that or opening up a Patreon and putting their videos somewhere else. So it's just crazy to me what they're doing to family channels, and I really do not understand or support YouTube doing this. Again, they weren't obligated by law or from the settlement to even do these things, but they decided that the loss of engagement, loss of searchability, loss of notifications was necessary, and it just seems like a hypocritical move, really. After YouTube had been pushing them to be more family friendly in their content, to not use swears, to not like make parodies of like video games and cartoon characters and stuff that have like adult themes or anything of the sort in them and whatnot. After all that pushing, now they're punishing the people who are doing exactly what they asked. And just what the fuck is wrong with you, YouTube? What the fuck is wrong with you? It just doesn't make any sense. So then there are channels that are either completely adult oriented or somewhat of a mixed bag. And this group is what I fall into. Now, There are rules based on the FTC's rules that YouTube have put up. There are guidelines on what to consider when trying to mark your videos as made for kids or not made for kids. And here they are right now. But if you read through these, you can tell that they're definitely vague guidelines. Apparently they're not set in stone rules either. So it becomes very difficult to determine what is and what isn't made for kids according to these laws. And that's been a very big criticism, and I definitely am one of those people who hold that opinion. It just doesn't make any sense because again, there's like, for example, adult animation. It says like the presence of cartoons, but there's adult animation. It says something about like having toys in there, but there are adult toy collectors. And there are even items that could be considered figures or whatever that are made for adult collectors specifically. Again, what I do, skits and parodies of characters that are traditionally considered family friendly, like Sonic the Hedgehog or whatnot. But their very presence means that it's obviously always made for kids, right? Obviously, I don't think that's correct at all. So these guidelines, these rules, don't seem to leave enough room for nuance, for specification. It's just too vague. It's too broad, too wide, and it's ultimately just confusing people on what is and what isn't. Again, it's just very confusing, and I have no idea why it has to be so confusing for people to understand. And then I mentioned it earlier, but YouTube is introducing bots and algorithms and whatnot to detect family-friendly content. So they've already been going and automatically marking people's videos as made for kids or not made for kids, and that's perfectly fine. However, if you feel that your video isn't made for kids, there's no proper appeal system yet. It's very unintuitive. You basically have to use the general like send feedback button in order to do it, and again, that's in my opinion that's just a big problem. So YouTube definitely should have a proper appeal system for that if the bot catches it and marks it as made for kids, because obviously losing engagement and searchability and whatnot is devastating. Now, as far as the appeal process is concerned, and I've never heard anything about this, it's just purely speculation, but if they look into your appeal and decide that you're wrong, could they possibly strike your channel for mislabeling videos? Because they word it as if it's a very big, serious issue if you mislabel the videos. So again, I feel like they might levy community guideline strikes against you for doing that. And that's obviously a very scary thing, especially if you know for a fact that you did not intend for kids to view this video, but they think it is anyway. It's just crazy. But even crazier are the legal threats made by the FTC. They have said that they have the tools, the authority, and the willpower to go and take legal action against individual creators, with fines of up to 42,000 some dollars per video. I don't think that's the way to go about this. And that's the nicest thing I can say about that is I do not think that's the proper way to go about this. I think the FTC needs to, have a direct conversation, dialogue with creators. They need to set up some meetings and just talk to the community to understand how it works. And again, I just don't see how lawsuits and whatnot are the way to go. I mean, it's the law, but the FTC again is quite possibly stretching the truth or maybe even lying about what the law is and how it applies to you. Again, videos are in the description. Please watch them to, see how or why. And, even if it does apply to these laws, I can't see it as anything other than the government telling you what you can and can't post to the internet, even though the content that you're making is perfectly legal to make, which, in my opinion, would be a violation of the First Amendment, our freedom of expression. And I think that as creators, we should definitely be able to keep our freedom of expression. This is the United States, not China, and we should be able to creatively express ourselves any which way that we feel like. And I think that the FTC should let YouTube handle this. The Copyright Office is perfectly fine with having YouTube handle copyright disputes. So why can't the FTC be perfectly fine with YouTube handling the appeals and the claims and everything on what is and isn't kids content? It doesn't make any sense. It just baffles me that they would want to bring creators to court just to prove some kind of point about their vague laws and whatnot. But what I have to say to them is that I think that these rules need some changing. I don't think that you should be suing people over this. I think it's a violation of their freedom of expression. And you just need to have a dialogue. You need to have a talk with the people who make this site what it is. And YouTube specifically really needs to consider backtracking on some of these policy changes when it comes to channels that mark themselves as made for kids or family content or whatever you want to call it. Because a lot of these changes are going to be devastating, or if not, just completely destroy these channels. And I don't think it's a good idea to have that. I think that having a balance of channels that are for families, are for kids, or for older audiences, having a balance is a good thing. Because if you destroy all those channels, if you weaken them and put all these shitty guidelines on them and whatnot, it's just going to make YouTube a bunch of raunchy adult content. And I think that having a balance is a good thing. So, those are my improvised thoughts on that. So now I'm going to go to the scripted bit. So what is the future of Skull 902 on YouTube? Well, in the short term, I'm just going to be staying the course. I've got my plans and I'm not abandoning them, even after the changes take effect in January. That being said, if I get something like a strike for having my channel marked the way it is, if I get in any kind of serious trouble with YouTube, I'm going to have to start using it as a secondary place to upload my videos and move on to somewhere else. Thankfully, I have some options. I've been using Dailymotion as a backup for over 11 years. I'll start catching up on video uploads over there, but considering they've been moving their focus away from user-generated content, it's unlikely I'll be using it as my main hub for videos. Nico Nico would be an interesting choice, though their website's layout is kind of weird, and while the English language support is good, it isn't complete, so it'd more than likely serve as another backup. The good thing about Nico Nico and Dailymotion is that they're both foreign websites, which complicates things in terms of COPPA being implemented. Another website I'm considering and which would probably end up being my main site is BitChute. Despite mainstream media trying to kill it, it really doesn't look like that bad of a place and seems to be growing. Could possibly work out nicely. Then finally, I know most people who do this are only doing it for the meme, but I would also be taking full advantage of the Safe for Work category on Pornhub. If there's any site I know that won't be subjected to these kinds of regulations, it'd be them. When worst comes to worst, you gotta take any opportunity you can get. And honestly, the folks who run Pornhub seem pretty reasonable, so that's cool. For live streams, I would be switching to Twitch and uploading the archives on whatever site I use as my main. And then, regardless of my status on YouTube, I'm going to make a demo and start seeking voiceover work outside of the internet. So those are my thoughts on this whole mess. We'll see what happens in January and beyond, but no matter what, I'm not abandoning you guys, and I hope that if I have to go, wherever I go, there will be people willing to follow. In the meantime, I would really recommend telling the FTC what you think by sending an email to secretary@ftc.gov or checking the links in the description. Let them know how it affects you or your favorite YouTubers, even if you don't live in the United States. With that said, I've been Skull902, thank you for watching, and have yourselves a wonderful day.